Hello, and welcome to the SUU Community Connect Learn from Home series, hosted by your community education program. I'm your host, Nicole Stout, and I'm happy that you could join us today. Community Reads is a program created to keep our community connected during this time of staying at home. Today, we are so excited to welcome our guest for Community Reads, Margie Hare. The thrill for Margie, these 18 years in real estate, is inspiring others to create lifestyles of adventure. It's more than just a home, it's a lifestyle, and she loves sharing the playground of Southern Utah with those who have yet to discover it. Born and raised here, yet trotting all over this magnificent globe, has given her perspective and massive appreciation for this particular locale. An energetic broker known for her extensive area knowledge and her unmatched devotion to clients, Margie's success is based almost exclusively on positive referrals of happy past clients. She earns the respect of her clients by always offering candid advice. She specialized in new home construction from 2002 to 2009, working with retirees and baby boomers. A fun way to start her career, and is still in touch with those early clients. She's earned a bachelor's degree in business and communication, as well as a real estate broker license, serving several years as a principal at Sun River and managing broker at Remax Associates. Margie has served on the Washington County Board of Realtors Programs and Socials Committee. She also holds the Certified Distressed Property Expert and Certified New Home Sales designations. She actively networks with the top 1% of realtors in the US and Canada. She is an avid biker, enjoying both road and mountain biking. She has traveled extensively and is ready for any adventure, including an adventure here on Community Reads. Right, Margie?
I am so excited to join you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love SUU. I actually attended a semester at SUU. So there's a piece of my heart that, beats Thunderbird.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so you got to tell us, give us some of your background. Where did you grow up? Tell us about your schooling, your family.
So I am a native of Southern Utah. Love the outdoor playground that is Southern Utah. Love it here. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and I think I have ventured further from home than anyone else in our family. So my mom would always call and say, "Where are you?" And I would be like, I just happen to be in Washington, or I'm in China. And she would be like, "What?" So anyway, lots of adventuring, definitely do real estate, and enjoy reading good books.
Oh, awesome. So why did you decide to get involved in real estate? What's that story? How'd that happen? I've never known how that happened.
I'm not sure how it happened. I think I fell into it. So I grew up in an unfinished home, and I would spend my time observing and noticing other people's homes. Like, I would look at their property, right? And that was just something, as a little girl, I would play house and decorate. And I had a great mentor. He's actually from Cedar City, Mike Green, and he introduced me to a builder. I started out at Sun River, and one thing led to another, and I got into real estate. So it wasn't something I planned. It kind of happened.
And along with the way you went to, is that where you got your bachelor's degree, is SUU? Is that where you went for your bachelor's degree?
No, I actually graduated from Dixie State University.
Okay. But you went to SUU though for a while.
SUU for a semester. I did take a lot of communication and business classes from SUU. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love SUU. So tell me, with your job, how's it been like with COVID? Has it changed at all? Are people still buying houses? Like, what's going on?
Well, March was interesting because, everyone was so just afraid, and everything kind of stopped for just a second. We were still showing properties a lot. The interesting thing was, those that were out that needed to move, they were serious buyers. So our showings went down 25%, but the people that were buying were still buying. And then since then, we're actually back up to our showing before COVID happened. So we're out and about showing properties just as much as before. But our inventory levels from this time last year to now, we're down 14%. So there's fewer homes on the market. There's still all this pent-up buyer demand, especially I have people, for example, from California and all these high density places that want to come to lower density areas. So they're out in force. So it is definitely our spring market right now. Things are very, very.
So I am curious, Why Southern Utah? Why are there so many people moving to Southern Utah?
Why do you think?
Well, I know why, but like, how do people find out about this place? Just like be moving here in droves, and I'm trying to figure it out. I'll be talking to someone, and they're like, "Oh, I'm from Florida," and I'm like, "Whoa, Florida."
Yeah, they do their research. They see the high quality of life, and I think that's what people are drawn to. They want mild climate, they want a good cost of living, and they want um, just a place where they can kind of adventure and bike and
Mm-hmm.
get to know their neighbors. That's not too big and crowded, and they find it here. They're coming here,
Hmm.
and our healthcare is number one. There's so many reasons that really draw people here, and you're right, they find us from all over the United States. So.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, is it a certain age bracket of people? Is it like baby boomers? Is it retirees, or is it all ages?
Well, my specialty has always been baby boomers, and people looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to retirement. But we're starting to see a lot more of the working class as we bring in more industry into the Southern Utah area. But predominantly, I've always worked with that, 48, 50-year-old looking towards retirement, starting to get a second home that they'll eventually end up living in.
Hmm. Has there been any talk about with COVID and everything going on? Is it going to affect housing market? Like, is there talk? I mean, no one ever really knows, do they? But I don't know if there's been like rumblings or what. But I would just think Southern Utah has like no COVID, and now everybody's like headed to Southern Utah.
I have, yeah, exactly. That's why a lot of people are coming, right? I have a lot of associates that are in New York and that are in California, and they've been restricted a lot on being able to show or not show properties, and solely worked by virtual tours and video tours of properties. So here we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. As far as it affecting the market, so I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a lot of economists, and they seem to know quite a bit about the market. And so if we look at historically what has happened in different recessions, recession does not equal housing crisis. In fact, a lot of the economists are saying that our housing market will probably be pulling us out of our recession that we're in because of COVID. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it goes back to those low supply, the low inventory levels is
Mm-hmm.
really help stimulating. We have all this pent up demand, and it's driving prices up. So, if you've thought about selling, it's a really good time to be
Good
selling.
time to sell. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could add
before
to
everyone
that.
else gets into the game. Yeah.
Permits heads up. Okay, well, today we're going to be talking about all things Italy. And I know you are one as an expert of Italy, but one of the books that we're going to be discussing today for our All Things Italy is Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love. This wise and rapturous book is the story of how Elizabeth Gilbert left behind all the outward marks of success and set out to find inner peace. Following a divorce and a crushing depression, Gilbert set out to examine three different aspects of her nature. Set against the backdrop of three different cultures, pleasure in Italy, devotion in India, and on the Indonesian island of Bali, a balance between worldly enjoyment and divine transcendence. In this book, Elizabeth Gilbert, as she visits these three, finding very different parts of herself in these three different countries, very much finding the joy in the journey of discovery. This is what we're going to talk about today, is the joy in the discovery. So how long ago did you read this book, Margie? This came out a long time ago.
That came out in 2007, and I actually read it a couple years after it came out. And I mean, I love talking about Italy, right? That's one of my favorite subjects and the country. But this book in particular has a sweet spot in my heart because I was going through a divorce in the end of 2019 or 2009, beginning of 2010. And this book was kind of like therapy to me. It
Mm-hmm.
really helped me get through that period. I had been seeing a therapist, but a coworker, late one night, we were talking at work. I was finishing my degree and working real estate in the evenings. And she knew I was fascinated about Italy and I wanted to go to Italy. And she knew I was going through a divorce, and she recommended this book. So I actually got it on tape. And in between classes, I would sneak out to my car and I would have some snacks and I would turn it on and I would listen to it while I ate, and I would cry. And I identified so much with everything that she went through, and in certain aspects, it kind of spoke to my soul and helped that was a little bit of the balm that helped me through that period, because I experienced something similar, as far as, going through a divorce and then wanting to go and travel the world. And you and I had actually gone with Dixie State College to Italy. And ever since then,
I even have a picture. Check it out.
let's see it.
Can
Oh,
you
wow.
see that? Do you see us there in the middle?
Yeah.
And this is when we are in, oh goodness, what's it called?
Florence.
Florence, yes. I can't believe I
Yeah.
couldn't remember. And the funny thing about this, we went in May 2001, before 9/11. And this shirt I'm wearing has an American flag on it. You would never travel anywhere in the world with like an American flag on your shirt. I mean, that's like a target, right? Time.
That was a wonderful trip, wonderful time. And I think before that and ever since then, we were just obsessed with Italy. And so I wanted to always go back and learn how to stay and learn how to speak Italian. And so listening to that book, Eat, Pray, Love, it just brought it alive to me. So, yeah.
So tell me, there was a follow-up book that's been written called Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It. Have you heard of that book?
No.
Would you say you could add a chapter to that book of Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It?
I've done a lot in the Eat, Pray, Love. Yeah, I haven't made it to Bali yet. But I did go to Italy, and then I became yoga certified. So I guess that would be the equivalent of the India part.
The India
but the
thing.
Bali part,
I didn't know you were yoga
really
certified. That's awesome. When do you teach? I must come take a yoga class.
Namaste in bed. Yeah, good times. So you went to Italy when we went with Dixie College as freshmen. What are some of your memories of that country that really stick out to you?
Ooh, the best one, I have to say, oh goodness, there's so many. But I do love when we were traveling around Rome and we went to the Fountain Trevi. Is that what it's called? The Trevi Fountain? And we threw coins in over our shoulder that we would come back. See, yours worked. Mine didn't work. I've never been back to Rome. I need to go back and make that.
I may have thrown 2 or 3 to hedge the bet.
I think that must have been what it was. That. And I remember going through the Tuscan countryside. That was just gorgeous.
Yeah, so that's where I went back to. And that for people that are watching that don't know, there is this what would you call it? Not a myth, but a legend that says if you throw a coin over your shoulder into the Trevi Fountain there in Rome, that it will ensure your return to Italy, right? So there's just no expiration date on that, Nicole. You still will be, heading back.
Oh, that's good to know.
But I have tossed it in every single time I've gone. So I did go back in several years later and studied with a school called El Sasso. And I thought I would be going to Rome or Florence, but I decided I needed to go to a smaller, this was after my divorce, and I needed to go to just a smaller community that was just nestled up in a hilltop. So I went to Montepulciano, and it's this beautiful hilltop village that's fortified by walls. And the way I describe it is if Italy were a snow globe, or if there were an Italy land in Disneyland, this is what it would look like. It has the cobblestone streets, it has the stone buildings that I feel I felt like a little crab scurrying around, and I was just inhabiting someone else's shell that had been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. I got room and board from this Italian woman that I arranged through the school, and it's a school for foreigners to go and learn how to speak Italian. And so I stayed with this woman named Fiorella, and she did not speak any English, which was great because it forced
me to learn the language.
Practice, yeah. And I got room and board, so she cooked. She was an excellent cook. The first thing I learned how to say was basta, which means enough, because I was like, yum, this is so good. And she just kept piling it on more and more. And anyway, but that was a fabulous second time that I went back since the first time that we went, and since I had listened to Eat, Pray, Love and kind of inspired. So I guess you could say Eat, Pray, Love made me do it.
So Eat, Pray, Love, she goes to these different countries. Sounds like you went to Italy and you did the food and you discovered the yummy food. in the different countries that she goes to, what was your favorite? Which one spoke the most to you, and what she learned there and what she experienced there?
So there is a passage I remember where she sells all her stuff, she goes into Rome, and it's kind of one of the first nights that she's there all by herself, and she's learning to be with herself and what loneliness feels like. And she describes it as these goons, loneliness and depression, that get into bed with her. And having gone through, obviously a divorce, but also depression, that really resonated. And that imagery in the book like spoke to me, because I'd felt that. I had felt those goons enter into my life in that darkness. And there's a quote, I actually highlighted a quote I'll share with you, where she just said that, she's like, when I get lonely these days, I think, so be lonely, Liz. Learn your way around loneliness. Make a map of it. Sit with it for once in your life. Welcome to the human experience. And I loved that.
Oh, that's profound.
That was a good starting point to be okay with yourself, and then to go out and enjoy Italy and all the splendors and wonders it has. Because I think when you're going through an existential crisis, that, Italy is layers upon layers upon layers of deep, rich history, and you're looking for some kind of meaning or deepness to connect to, and it's within you all along. It's within you, and traveling to see it, you're not going to find it, but it helps you find it within yourself, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's profound. I found this passage, when I initially read this book, I just highlighted it like crazy because so much of it spoke to me. But there was one part where it says, the Bhagavad Gita, that ancient Indian yogic text, says that it is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live an imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. And I thought that was so profound, because how often do we try and fit into this little square box? And yet you don't fit into this little square box. You have like longer edges, and it just doesn't fit.
I hope not. Yeah. And this book is like resplendent with that kind of just nuggets of wisdom. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. It meshes so well. And I'm so glad that she chose Italy as the first place to go to.
Oh, I know. Do you have any plans to head to India anytime soon? India or Bali? I've always wanted to go to Bali.
Bali, yeah. I think not so much about India, but Bali, definitely. I would love to go to Bali and check it out. Although I've heard that it's a little dirtier than what you would expect it to be. So, you hear India is really dirty, but I don't know. I haven't been to Bali yet.
Well, you love to travel. When did you discover your love of traveling?
So, the first time I remember being on a plane was right after I graduated high school. We grew up a little, big family, not a lot of money, so we didn't ever go on vacations. So I wound up inheriting all of my older siblings' hobbies that they had. And I think traveling was really my own thing that I wanted to do. So I went on a trip to visit my friend. She was going to college in Pacific University in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And I was on an airplane for the first time by myself. And that kind of lit the little fire. And then when we went on that trip to Italy, that doused it, and the flames went up. And
we had like no money, and we were like, we're going to make this happen no matter what.
My mom actually, she took a car loan on her car in order to pay for my trip. And then I paid it back little by little, like layaway, and saved up for it. So yeah, it was the best education she could have given me in college.
What a sweet mom. That's awesome.
Use the scholarship money for an epic trip.
Yeah, right? Oh, it's total education, right?
It was fabulous. Yeah. So that really lit the fire to go to Italy. Obviously the book helped spurred it on. I talked about it, and finally friends were like, just go do it. But one thing that I have found that's made it come alive, and I'll show you another book. This guy, Rick Steves, he is amazing. This one is 2013. I think this is from one trip I went there.
And doesn't he have like an app too on a phone that you can download?
Yeah, you don't have to pack around this big heavy book anymore. You can use an app, And he has on Netflix, he has a whole series of different seasons. And even just 2 days ago, I sat and binged watched a couple of them because, it made me feel like I could travel, even though we can't right now.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it just, oh, it's beautiful. But the thing that I love about his guidebooks, not just, go see the Colosseum and go see the big major sites. He brings all the
Mm-hmm.
back little streets alive and the people. There was a gentleman in one of these books that I saw in a video he had, and he owned a wine cellar. And I don't drink,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember watching this, and I was wandering around the streets of Montepulciano when I was there studying for a month. And I walk in and I recognize the guy. He was the guy that Rick Steves had interviewed. And I got a picture and he kissed me on the cheek, this cute little old man. And so that was really fun. And then another time, my friends and I, we rented a little Fiat 500 and those little teeny cars, and we drove around Tuscany, and we went into this museum in Florence, and it was the ugliest artwork I'd ever seen. Like, they were like two-dimensional, flat, really ugly paintings. I was just like, And we listened to Rick Steves' app, and he started describing the importance of the artwork from this period of history and how it was when artists were learning how to draw and paint in 3 dimension. And as we progressed through the museum, you could see the paintings start getting a lot more detail, a lot more depth, and it really made the whole experience in this museum come alive because he had shared his insights about that particular museum. So he's been a favorite travel companion of mine through the years. So yeah, I would highly recommend binge watching his Netflix show.
And it's Rick. What is the Netflix show called?
If you just Google Rick Steves, he's mostly in Europe, and he'll have it all over Europe. It's not just Italy, but it's all different countries. If you want to take a little trip from your living room, that's a great way to do it.
Okay. Well, I know there were a lot of people that, their travel plans changed and everything during this. Can you even fly to Europe right now? I don't even think you can still, can you?
I haven't looked into it. I know a lot of places you fly into are going to quarantine you for 2 weeks. So hopefully it will start getting looser and better. I know Southern Utah, we're feeling a lot more open and almost back to normal.
Oh, I'll say.
The rest of the world is still very much
Especially when you go to the lake on the weekend, it sure seems like everybody's here.
Yeah, it's busy.
Oh, I heard on Sunday they had 4 or 5 rescue calls from search and rescue trying to. It was like a busy Memorial Day weekend is what I heard. Super crazy. All right. Tell me, what are your must-dos when you're in Italy? Say you're the tour guide there, and you're going to tell us what are some of the things that you absolutely have to go do, see, eat, gelato. What do you got? Favorite gelato? Yeah. Which is your favorite flavor? That's what I want to know.
Well, definitely, I think eating is a great way to taste your way around Italy. It's known for its food. And I think we had gelato on every single corner that we came to, didn't we?
We did. And I learned too that Italy pizza is different than American pizza, and Italy pasta is different. And I remember eating pizza with you with anchovies. I was like, what's this like fishy tasting thing? And what's this black thing after? My first anchovy. Yeah, that was I remember that.
That was gross. Yeah. They say that the test of a true pizza is if the margarita pizza is good, then a place knows how to make good pizza, right? So favorite thing, let's see. I loved in the book where she says, I'm in a relationship with my pizza. And I can tell you, I've been in some good relationships with food. Probably some of my best relationships I've ever been in have been with food. So definitely try the pizza. Be careful about the anchovies. Be careful about the olives. They come with the pits in them, and they put it all under the cheese so you can't see it.
Yes, it's like pizza surprise.
And you can break a tooth if you bite into an olive with a pit. But The crusts are very thin. It's delightful. And, you know, I don't ever think calories count when you're traveling to Italy. As far as like, I'm not I'm not really into a lot of pastas or pastries or any kind of thing like that here in the States, but it definitely is different there, and you should try it. So gelato is absolutely wonderful, and I love pistachio. That's one of my favorites. What is your favorite?
That is a good flavor. Oh, goodness. I always like the fruity ones. I really like raspberry or any kind of fruity, lemony, coconut. I love those kind of things.
Yeah, the lemon
I
one.
don't know. It depends on what looks good at the time. And they're so tiny. They like give you this tiny little scoop, and then you just go to the next store on the next corner and get more.
Well, if it's good, you don't need a lot. But yeah, I remember them teaching us, and I wish I knew how I could remember how to say it. But they would ask us. We learned how to say in Italian, basically if it marries well, like if the flavors go well together. So if you try more than one flavor, and I can't remember now. Oh well. Anyway, so Italy is definitely different from the north to the south. They say that you know, the southern people are really relaxed. They have their doors open late into the evening, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They're having dinner. They think that the northern people in Milan are too uptight. But there's really kind of two capitals of Italy. So you have Rome, which is kind of the heritage history center, and then you have Milan, which is more like the business district of Italy. And the northern people look at the southern and say, oh, they're really lazy, they just kick back, but they do appreciate each other. So the southern people appreciate that, you know, while they may be uptight up north, they know how to get things done. And the northerners will say, well, they might be a little on the lazy side, but they do appreciate pleasure and enjoying life, right? Which I love in her book. She talks about la dolce far niente, which is the sweetness of doing nothing. And
oh, I could jump onto that bandwagon.
The sweetness of doing nothing. But my favorite places, obviously Tuscany is a huge favorite just because of the rolling hills. It's absolutely beautiful with all of the vineyards. One thing that's interesting to note, you know, did you ever watch I Love Lucy?
Yeah, I've watched some of I Love Lucy.
So there's an episode where she goes and she stomps on all the grapes, right?
Oh, I remember that one. Yes.
So I always wanted to do that. And there's no place in Italy to do that. They're like, that's not how we do it. Like that just isn't, that's gross. We don't step on them.
It's not sanitary.
If anyone wants to go into a business venture with me and open a villa where we could like cater to dumb blonde American tourists that want to stomp on the grapes like I Love Lucy, I would love
we can stomp on the grapes as long as we wear face masks, right? We'll be good during COVID.
Oh, anyway. So I would definitely hit Tuscany. Florence is the seat of the Renaissance. You know, it's absolutely beautiful. It was bombed quite a bit during World War II, so it's a lot of it's been built back up. So if you like that really romantic feel, it didn't seem as romantic to me because it's a little newer. It's not crumbly like Rome is very crumbly, or Venice, you know, it's sinking into the water. But a lot of the little villages around Florence, so there's small villages like Siena, Montepulciano, just lots of different little detours that you can take in the countryside. You can car sick easily though, just be warned. The roads are very windy and up and down, and you can get a little car sick. It's not flat in Tuscany. So
are there any specific cities in Tuscany that you should go visit? Anything? Well, is that where Assisi is?
Yeah, Assisi is near there. Okay. I definitely, I mean, I'm partial to Montepulciano just because that's where I stayed. But any of them, you know, they each have their own pasta. So there's pastas for each region of Italy. That's like their signature dish, their signature food. So that's fun to try. Speaking of food, as you travel around. Down south is absolutely beautiful along the Amalfi Coast. You and I went to Sorrento. And
Yeah, is that the Amalfi Coast? Is that what that is down there? I've
yeah,
heard of it, but sometimes I'm not 100% sure exactly where that's located. So what can you see at the Amalfi Coast? Is that where you see when you go on cruises and you look up and there's all those homes up on the cliffs that are just gorgeous along the seaside? Is that kind of how
yeah.
that looks?
So Positano is a beautiful village, and it's kind of stacked up on the hillside. And so,
Mm-hmm.
pack light, because you are hauling your suitcase, either on your back. They don't have elevators, or if they do, they're really small. So you're climbing up. But that's where Sorrento, yes, it's near Pompeii.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful archaeological site that they uncovered from
Right.
Vesuvius. And then that's
Yeah, we did Pompeii when we went that one time. Have you only been that one time when you and I went when we were in our 20s, or have you been
I
since
went
then?
back a second time to Pompeii. And yeah, it's fascinating to see all of the ruins and what happened and how well preserved certain things are from that time period. It was interesting. But when you and I went, we went to the island of Capri. And under the
Mm-hmm.
island of Capri is called the Blue Grotto, right? Do you remember the Blue Grotto?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I do. You had to go on little rowboats, and then you had to like dive down into this like cave, and then you went and found it. It was amazing.
So in Positano, along the coastline on the mainland, there's the Emerald Grotto, which is similar to the Blue Grotto. It's a little smaller, but very similar concept, where the light hits the water and the white sand underneath, and it illuminates it, so it glows green or it glows blue like the Blue Grotto. So that's absolutely beautiful and a wonderful place to visit. I really love the South because I enjoy that. Let's open the door and let's all eat, and it's family style. And, I'm kind of a night owl that way. When you're in Milan, it's quite different. All the shops close at 6 o'clock. They leave their work and they go home to their families. And so it's just a different
Mm-hmm.
feel. It's not what you imagine Italy to be like. But on a trip, I was there staying in Lido, which is a little island next to Venice. It's part of all the
Mm-hmm.
cluster of islands. And our hosts, we were staying at an Airbnb in their house. They recommended that we take the train up to Bolzano. Now, Bolzano is right on the border on the north of Austria and Italy. It actually used to be part of Austria. And in the war, it got redrawn, the boundaries. So everything feels a little more Austrian than it does Italian. But that's where the 6,000-year-old Iceman is located. So
Oh, what
he
is that?
he
I've
was
never heard of that.
yeah, he was frozen in the ice up in the Italian Alps, and they found him, and they were able to, in later years, as carbon dating became a thing, they were able to carbon date him back to the Iron Age. So he's 6,000 years old, and
Oh
and
my gosh.
you can see
See
him.
him in a
He's
museum?
preserved. He's like a mummy, yeah, and
Is he short?
yeah, he was short. Yeah.
I think they used to be a lot shorter back in the day. Maybe we've gotten height as we've aged. Hey, I
Yeah.
have a question for
Okay.
you from Susie. Did you try Lemoncello? Lemoncello. Have you tried that?
So
And
Lemoncello
how
is a
big were the lemons?
what was that?
Uh-huh. Oh, and it says, and how big were the lemons?
Yeah, so the south of Italy, that's a big thing. In fact, a lot of their decor in the shops are of the lemons and limoncello, and it's quite prevalent down more in the south part of like the Amalfi Coast. And I don't know if I actually ever tried it. I don't think so. I believe it's a liqueur, so I probably abstained for that reason, religious purposes. But if they had made it into an ice cream or a gelato,
You
I
would,
would have got it for sure.
you would have had it for sure. And have you been to Naples? Have you been to Naples? Any of the highlights? We went to Naples when we went in college, but have you been, or did we not go to Naples?
We did
Did
not
we
stop
skip
in
Naples?
Naples. We
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 just saw
drove
it.
around the Bay of Naples, but we did not stop there. Naples has kind of infamously been more of the dirty, dangerous part of Italy a little bit. In the book Eat, Pray, Love, that's where they go for their great pizza. That's the birthplace of pizza. But I have not ventured there. A lot of times I'm traveling solo, um, and anyway, haven't made it there yet. I haven't also been to Cinque Terre, which has always been a place I've wanted to go to. So there's definitely, Rick Steves once told me something. He said, don't try to see it all at once. Like Italy is layers upon layers upon layers, and there's too much. Even in Rome, if you lived there 50 years, you probably wouldn't see everything. So don't try to experience it all, because you can't. You'll go crazy. Just enjoy what you are experiencing and think, next time when I come back, right?
Mhm.
After you throw that coin,
Right.
next time when you come back, you'll get to see it. So
Yes.
Otzi, yes. That is the Iceman.
Some more questions. Any Rome highlights? LDS Temple to Vatican.
Sorry,
What do you think
say that
about
again?
Rome? Any Rome highlights? LDS Temple to Vatican, between anywhere in there.
Oh, yes. So I think it was Professor Blakely at Dixie State College that when we went,
yes.
that told me this
Mhm.
fact. So the Vatican, it's this beautiful cathedral, and they built it so large that it would fit the Salt Lake Temple inside from floor to spire. Would fit inside the Vatican. That's how massive this place is. But they didn't want to overwhelm the common worshiper, so making it so large. And so they did a lot of optical illusions to make it not seem quite as large. But when you start walking in it, you start realizing, oh, I'm not really making as much progress as I thought I was. And then the little ball up on top, that is a chapel that will actually fit, I think it's like 24 people up in that little ball.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Professor Blakely told us that. And so it's a massive place. I remember the Sistine Chapel coming alive. Those paintings on the ceilings are like 3-dimensional, and they come out. And do you remember they always are like, silencio.
Yes, I remember that. Well, and I also remember walking in, and I would always wear, and I always felt like I never like showed a lot of skin, but it always seemed like I had to like put a sweater over my shoulders or something. They very much keep skin covered when you come into these religious places. So what other places besides the Vatican in Rome would be a highlight to go see?
So in Rome, I loved the Spanish Steps. That's kind of a local hangout where people tend to go and sit. There's a water fountain you can drink from. Um, it's really wonderful to see the older generation. And I think this is why Italy's had such a hard time with COVID, because they do have an older generation, but they dress up in 3-piece suits. They are just dressed to the nines, and they go for an evening stroll. And they do that in Rome, and they do that in the small little streets of Tuscany as well. So that's really fun, just to kind of notice the locals out for their evening stroll. But the Spanish Steps, the Vatican is one of my favorites. Obviously the Colosseum, the ruins in Rome where, why am I blanking out on these names? The 2 wolves, Romulus and
Vulcan? Am I thinking? No. Oh, I know, the ones that started Rome. Yeah, they were twins, right?
Yes.
Yeah, what were they? What were they?
So that's really,
I knew until you asked me.
And then you can go into so many cathedrals that it will make your jaw hurt. Like,
Oh, yes. And a really good book,
Thank
I'm going to
you.
put a little plug for this book, if you want a real comprehensive look at Rome, is Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. Have you ever read that? Fiction book.
I actually just watched, is he the one that wrote the Da Vinci Code?
Yes, this is the one that comes before the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
Anyway, fantastic book to read if you're looking for all things Rome, Roman history, and all that, Vatican, and everything you want to know about the Vatican. It's just like mind-boggling, all the things. Someone typed in, Remus is the name of the other.
Remus and Romulus.
Remus and Romulus. Yes. All right, let's have another question. What are some things not to do in Italy so we do not embarrass ourselves?
Opening your mouth? No, just kidding. Everyone could tell I was an American. No. So definitely, blending in like a local. If you're wearing jeans and a fanny pack, you look like an American tourist, right? So I loved buying.
Right, and don't wear the American flag on your shirt either.
So just blending in with the local culture, being friendly, being polite, it goes a long ways, I think, in any culture. Um, not getting offended. I like you mentioned, there's so many cathedrals and churches there. They don't like, you know, any kind of shoulders or short shorts or bare midriffs or things like that. Just dressed respectfully for those churches. I think that holds true still today. And again, just politeness goes a long way. Tourists get a bad rap because you're on a vacation and you expect people to cater to you, and you're there to really appreciate the art and the history and to get to know the people and the culture, and just having that appreciation, and maybe not being loud and obnoxious.
It's kind of hard when we're Americans. Somehow people just know.
So, and here's another tip. So when I was learning some Italian, I would try to speak it and they did not understand what I was trying to say. And I would start using my arms like this and they understand. But they want to practice their English, as well. Mm-hmm. So letting them practice their English with you is a nice two-way street.
Oh, that would be nice. That'd be nice. All right. Well, we're kind of wrapping down on time. Just a couple of things besides the Italy thing. What are you currently reading? Do you have any good books you're currently reading right now?
Oh my goodness gracious. I try to read like multiple ones at once.
You sound like me.
Habits, which is more of a self-improvement genre. Atomic Habits.
Is that good? I've heard it's good. I have it to be read, but I haven't yet.
I'm also reading Ninja Selling, which is for real estate as well. And then for pleasure, I just started reading, I think it's called Unbroken. I haven't read that one yet.
Oh, is that World War II one?
Yeah.
So
I just started reading that one.
I did. That's a good one. I read that one, I'm going to say that maybe 4 years ago. It was really good before it came out as a movie. It was a really, really good one.
That's what I've heard. One of my favorite books of all time is called Left to Tell by Immaculée Ibigaza. And
what's it called again?
It's called, I have it right here. I'll show you. Never mind, I don't. It's called Left to Tell. And
Left to Tell.
It's her autobiography of she's surviving the Rwanda genocide. And it's her personal account of she and her family who all get killed. And it's just her explaining her faith, and it's very powerful. It's a little bit of a gory, gruesome book, but it's a true story, and I really love it.
Oh, wow. One thing I do love about these books that we read and learning about Italy and different things is that we are just in this tiny little bubble in Southern Utah. This world is so big, and you really get an appreciation for other people and other cultures and other ways of lives and other religions, and everything is just, we're so like interconnected. And you really notice that during COVID, I think, just how much we rely on each other. So that sounds great. I'm going to read that. Left to Tell. Well, Margie, this has been so fun. Thanks for coming. I haven't talked to you forever. How was your birthday? You just had a birthday a couple of days ago. Did you have fun? I heard a hot air balloon ride. Is that right?
There was a hot air balloon ride involved, yes. And so even if we can't travel worldwide, there is a lot to discover here locally and to enjoy. But it made me want to go to Cappadocia and, do the hot air balloons there. So anyway, I highly recommend ballooning.
And it was okay? Not too scary? That's on my bucket list. One of these days I'll do that. I'll join you. Well, Margie, thank you so much for coming on today. And thanks for tuning in today for Community Reads. Tomorrow at 4, I will be doing our last special segment, Community Reads, for our Business and Leadership Edition. So tune in for that. I will be interviewing the Dean of SUU, Mary Pearson. Dean Pearson's book discussion book and gifts from SUU are in the mail. We will be discussing Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World by Admiral William H. McCraven. We encourage members to start reading as soon as they arrive, and we will be ready to tune into discussions for tomorrow. From all of us here at SUU Community Education, we hope you enjoyed learning something new. You can watch the recording of this class at suu.edu/keeplearning or follow our YouTube channel at SUU Community Education. Thank you all for joining us and have a marvelous day. Thank you.